Hello and welcome to an easy guide for budgeting. It doesn't matter if you're 10 or if you're 100. If you have money coming in and going out, budgeting is a very important skill to know, not only for us, but for our kids too. I know budgeting can seem daunting at times, especially when you see money just sitting there that you can't use. But trust me, it is important to make sure that you stick to your budget. If you do, you'll be glad you did if an emergency ever comes up. And like Terry Stauffer says, used correctly, a budget won't restrict you, but empower you. Now, unfortunately, I know very little about budgeting. Fortunately, I found some great information on the internet. So the content of this presentation was written by Bev O'Shea and Lauren Schwan via NerdWallet. Since I'm not exactly a scholar when it comes to budgeting, I'm sure you're wondering what my motivation was to do this presentation. Well, it seems like it was just January 1st and we were all making our New Year's resolutions, and mine was to do better with money. Now all of a sudden, it's almost summer and we're going to be spending money like wild on summer vacations. In addition to that, my first child started college this past year, and I really wish that I would have been better prepared for tuition. Unfortunately, due to circumstances outside of my control, the small money I had saved all but disappeared pretty quickly. So I'd like to try to make sure that I'm better prepared to do that for the next two, and I'd like to help you do that at the same time. I want you to know that I am very pleased by how the authors broke down what you should be spending in each category and didn't just give you some budgeting chart that you should fill out without any helpful information. But I still want to point out that I do realize that there are different people with different incomes and different circumstances. So this may not be a viable solution for everyone. But for the ones who can get some use out of it, I hope you do. So here we go. Enjoy. So first, let's discuss what a budget is. Simply put, a budget is having a formalized plan for your money that keeps track of everything coming in and everything going out. Now that you know what budgeting is, let's go over how you budget your money. First, start with your net pay. Your net pay is the amount of money you bring home, and it's not your gross pay, which is the dollar amount you see at the top of your check. Second, find a budgeting method that works for you. Not every method is going to work for everybody. Third, be sure to keep track of how you're doing. The more progress you see, the more apt you're going to be to stick to your budget. As you can see here, I'm using a basic budgeting framework that you can use for setting up your budget. It's called the 50-20-30 rule, and basically it's allocating 50% for things you need, 30% for things you want, and 20% for savings or debt repayment. Now, of course, you may have to adjust depending on your income or situation, but let's start with this. For example, if your budgeting goal is to pay down debt, you'd like to save for a house, you may want to increase the percentage applied to savings or debt repayment. However, if you have no debt and already have an emergency fund saved up, you may want that percentage to be upped in another area or even create a fourth area for donations. All right, let's get started. First, you want to add all sources of income. This includes regular income, side gigs, child support, and any other source of income that comes into the household. Next, subtract any taxes, health insurance fees, business expenses, or any other expenses you may have. For example, when I received child support, I counted that money only as my child's money, so it went straight into a savings account for them. I covered all household expenses and utilities, and any child-specific expenses such as instruments, health care, etc., came out of that pool of money in the savings account. If you have a situation like this, you may want to exclude the money, but if you depend on that money, you may choose to use it as income in coming up with your budgeting plan. There are many different types of budgeting plans out there, but two of the plans I'm going to talk about in a little bit more in depth are the envelope system and the zero-based budgeting method. The envelope system is a budgeting method that allows you to physically portion out your monthly income towards different spending categories. The concept is simple. You take envelopes, write a specific expense category on each one, like groceries, rent, or student loans, and then put the money you plan to spend on those things into the prospective envelopes. The next method I'm going to talk about is the zero-based budgeting method. The zero-based budgeting method encourages you to use every single penny of your monthly income, but that doesn't mean blowing it all on a shopping spree. Of course, in the end, you must choose the plan that's right for you, and that's why I chose the envelope system as one of my examples. For those of you who may not have a debit card or checking account to pay bills with, the envelope system is probably going to be your best friend. Personally, I find that I'm less likely to spend money that's in my checking account than I am spending money that's in my wallet, so the envelope system would not work for me. I'm going to reiterate something I said earlier. Track your progress. Seeing results will help keep you motivated. So record your spending or use an online budgeting tool. There's an example of one below, and I'll put that in the comment area. For instance, one thing that I'm doing is I got an Amazon Visa and a Sam's Club credit card because these are the stores where I purchase most of my necessities. I use these cards instead of my debit card so I can track how much I spend in each category over the month. Plus, an added bonus is that I earn cash back on all of my purchases, and I can use that for Christmas shopping or birthdays without blowing my budget. However, if you have a hard time not using credit cards, you may want to nix that idea because if you can't pay them off every month, you may end up paying more in finance charges than you would get in cash back. Another tip I can give you is automate your savings. While I was still working, I would put $50 out of each paycheck into our household savings account for unexpected expenses and $50 in my Acorns investment account. Well, I wanted to do more. That's basically all I could do at the time. Don't forget to revisit your budget as needed. As you monitor your budget, you may find that you need to make changes due to circumstances such as income increases or decreases, new expenses, or changing goals. So revisit your budget every so often to make sure that you're staying on track and accomplishing what you wanted to accomplish in the first place. Before we go, I want to give you an example budget. So here we go. We're going to use Sally as our example because everybody seems to hate Karen for some reason. I don't know what, whatever. Anyway, Sally's bringing home $2,000 a month. So Sally is going to set aside $1,000 for necessities like rent and food, $600 for wants like new clothes or eating out, and $400 for savings and debt repayment. Now that's going to bring us to the whole $2,000 that Sally brought home this month. Do you remember what budgeting method that is? Right on. Yep, that's the zero-based budgeting method. Thank you for joining me, and I will talk to you next time. Okay, I lied. If you like what you saw here, I want to give you the link to the full article. I'll also put this in the comment area of the video. And I'm wishing you good luck.